Morning, morning, morning. Morning to Rena Jennings. Morning, Rena. Terrence Swan, good morning to you. Annette Neptune, morning. Pauline Buckmeyer, morning, Pauline. Lisa Atwater, good morning. Shedley Jimenez, good morning to you. Gerard Pascal Manswell, morning. Ali Lewis, good morning. Ali Denise Bramble, morning. Roxanne. Ann Niles, good morning to you. Good morning to His Excellency, the President of Pleasantville, Nigel O'Connor, First Lady Mauricia Keegan. Morning, Claire. Morning, Diane. Cynthia Jackson. Morning to you, Philomena Collins. Marianne Devines. Morning. Alison Boyce. Good morning, Alison. Marlon St. Clair. Morning to you. Kenneth Gabriel. Morning to all of you guys. Trude. Morning. Morning, Dish. Marlene Panton. Good morning to you as well. Let's see. Morning, Val. Sedena, Kwashi, Angie, Sherry, good morning, folks. Hill Bench, good morning to you. Jacqueline Phillips, morning. Let's see what it says here. Good morning, Donna. Donna Walcott, Denise Coggins, morning to you. Morning, Joy. Alison Rogers, Joseph, good morning. Natasha Martin, morning to you as well. Elizabeth Allen. Rookman Gangadine, good morning to you. Morning, folks. Morning, all. Let's see. 6:36. Yeah, if you all find my eyes are looking red, it's because I'm running on about 2.5 hours sleep. I had a long day yesterday. I got in late, went to bed late. Yeah. And then, well, I said, let me still get up and just hop on for a bit. I don't want to go too long this morning because I said I'm struggling to keep my eyes open. As you'll probably notice, Janet Armstrong, morning. Morning, Alison. Alison Samuel, Mary De here, good morning to you. Candice Joseph. Marva James, morning. Terry Moore, good morning, Terry. Marilyn McAllister, morning. Yeah, stress. Struggling to keep my eyes open this morning. Yeah, and I have another long day, so I don't know how I'm doing that. Yeah, I thought I would still jump on anyway, just for a bit. So then it says, I see your bed had siege. My bed calling me. Actually, my bed is calling me Sedena. Yeah, I need sleep. Minad Lazare, good morning. Cherry and George, morning to you. Morning, Alicia. Yeah, my bed calling me. So as I said, I'm struggling to keep my eyes open, but let me see. I don't know if Jenny. I haven't seen Jenny come on yet, but I just wanted Jen, if you're on, I just wanted you to give us some information on something based on the discussion that I had last night with David Abdullah on I-95.5. So they contacted me yesterday morning, last minute thing, to ask me if I would be willing to join. Natasha Martin, you're most welcome. Leslie Warner, morning. Marian Devines. Joycelyn Smallwhite. Hi, Joycelyn. Anton Batiste, morning to you. Yeah, they called me at the last minute to ask if I would be a part of the panel last night. I didn't know who the other panelists were. It was only when I got there I saw David Abdullah was there. I figured that Adine would have been the moderator. And then I saw Mariano come, and we were told that Khadija Amin was supposed to join us. And then we heard she wasn't going to come again because they weren't expecting the budget speech to go as long as it did. And, the usual thing afterwards, Mrs. Prasad Bisesa has to give her, the scarce press conference that she gives, but she needed the support of her whole um, opposition bench behind her. Same thing that Fali does. Every time he gives a press conference, that you need to have a whole choir behind you, like some bobblehead shaking. Yes, she need to get amen and hallelujah. Everything that she says. Yeah, can't give a press conference by herself. So in case, and I don't know if you would have seen some footage of the arrival of the Prime Minister at the Parliament yesterday versus the arrival of Mrs. Prasad Visesa. So they organized their crowd to come out, probably about 100 and maybe 150 people. They organized the maxis and so on. But we had heard talk of that. We saw there was some indication of that was going to happen. I think I saw it on UNC Cabal and some other pages that they were lining up their people to come to the parliament to protest. Certainly not the crowd that they were hoping for, and some of the other usual suspects, interestingly, were not there. I didn't see the pushback movement, Umar Abdullah. I didn't see this guy, what's his name, who has the radio station, Robert Amar. I didn't see him there. Perhaps he was, and maybe I didn't notice. But they usually come together. But somebody needs to let Dudnat Meru know that he is no longer just an ordinary councillor. You are now the mayor of Separia, the first mayor of Separia, the first citizen, as they say, of Separia, and therefore your conduct needs some adjustment. Have respect for the office that you hold, right? We know who you are, we know your character, and it's difficult, as they say, you can take the pig out of the mud, right? You're still a pig, but at least try and understand the position that you hold now, right? You are the mayor of Separia, and you're expected to conduct yourself in a certain way. It's not like when you were just an ordinary councillor advocating for your burgesses, and you feel that you need to engage in all manner of theatrics and the like, looking to burn tire, and you want to be threatening police officers and so on. You now represent an office, an auspicious office, and you need to conduct yourself in a manner reflective of that office that you hold. So they come yesterday, I saw, he was most prominent, all with the props and so on, who come with pots and pan and all of that, knocking it. Rowley must go, we want Kamala. They bring a pipe, a mock standpipe, and a bucket. So they set up the whole contraption of the pipe. I see them turning on, show with a sign that says no water, and all of this, these theatrics, and for what? For what? And Mrs. Prasad said, as usual, you're coming out, oh my gosh, look at this crowd. But all you organize that, but you're pretending you're so surprised, and you have to walk the line and touch everybody's hand. We want Kamala, Rowley must go, Hines must go. And the woman looking feeble, struggling. It's like, while she walking, touching hands, in her mind she's going, left foot, right foot. I get that right? Left foot, right foot. No, I do right foot, left foot. No, I need to do left foot, right foot. Left foot, right foot. And so she going, oh gosh, I hope this line is too much longer now. I need to go inside. That's how she looking. The woman shuffling. She's struggling to walk. And you have Brian Big and the rest of them behind her. We don't walk too far, in case. She's struggling, hoping somebody would come and hold her hand. Everywhere the lady goes, she need help. She need a human crutch. But you still want to be prime minister, and you wouldn't go home and rest yourself. But you're running on politics, you're running on office. Why? Acknowledge your frailties. You're not able physically. And then on the other side of the road, you see Dr. Rowley's entourage pull up, and he jump out the back of the SUV like a 16-year-old and strutting, right? Looking. Dr. Rowley certainly does not look his age. He doesn't. He older than Kamala Prasad Visesa, but you wouldn't be able to tell that when you compare the two, and you see the man strutting, stride, the way he speaks and so on, all of that, energetic, not like her. You younger than Dr. Rowley, left foot, right foot, left foot. Right. How much longer where they could have tell all of these people to converge in the same space, or they have a whole length trying to spread out the crowd so it will look big. And putting the woman through all that stress, she had to walk all of that. Instead of walking only 50 feet, she probably had to walk 250 feet, and she could only make 75. Yeah? So you had to pretend now you stand up to talk to one person because you're trying to catch her breath, but pretending. Yeah, just talking to the person. But trying to catch your breath so you could make the next 175 feet. Yeah, and hoping somebody will come and tell you you have to go inside. All right, you don't need to walk the rest of the line. We're about to go inside. Really? And that's all encouraging. But keep her there till 2025, as we say. Meanwhile, on the other side, we proud of our leader, you know? Yeah. They could have dropped him off at the bottom of Abercrombie Street, and he could have walked up the road. He could have sprint. Yeah, he could have run up the road too. No issues. And he wouldn't have been out of breath. But all they continue to prop up the woman. All your wicked, everybody, all your wicked crew. Yesterday they needed all your two wicked crew. Munilala and all your two wicked. Stop doing the woman that. She doing it to herself too. So she wicked too, but all right. And you, Gregory, you wicked too. You're supposed to talk to your wife and tell her, hey, come now, enough is enough. Enough is enough. You're able. But poor fellow, he probably glad every time she jump in the back of the SUV and bust out. Like, how much hours I have to myself? How much hours I don't want to hear that yapping? When she drink, well, let me hush my mouth. Let me don't go there. But, you know, when she's having her beverages and she probably start to ramble. And poor fellow, he had to listen to that. So he glad when she ain't home. Happy. So he ain't gonna tell her, yeah, go, man, go, Kamla. You can be prime minister again, you're busy. Every minute that I get by myself, I'm happy that I ain't have to hear you. Right? But anyway, so, and it was predictable. At the end of the reading of the budget, she called her press conference to say the same thing. That it was a repetition, it was dry, it was just a repeat of a rehash of things that he said last year and the year before, and all of this. We expect it. It's a normal thing. That's how it always goes. And so we wait to see what her response is going to be on Friday. This year she don't have the benefit of Tahaka Obika. Yeah? He gone. So let me see what Dave Tanku could rustle up for her. Well, wait to hear that. That should be entertainment. Get your popcorn and your large Coke ready. Yeah? Because she ain't writing no budget response. Leave that I don't know who she got to replace Mr. Obika, but anyway. You know, I'm concerned that after how many years of budget speeches, that person still don't understand how the reading of the budget works. Because I keep hearing people say that the minister didn't say this, and he didn't talk about that, and he didn't address this, and he didn't speak to that, and he didn't give enough information, enough detail on this and that. That is not the responsibility of the minister. The minister gives a general outline. He would provide information with respect to certain fiscal measures that the government would take. He would indicate revenue, expenditure. This is what we expect. This is what we spent last year. This is how much we expect to earn this year. This is the sectors we expect to get it from. And this is how we are going to spend it. The granular details with respect to the individual ministries would be given by the ministers. If the Minister of Finance is to explain everything and to give all of the granular details of how the money is going to be spent in every ministry, the budget would probably take 24 hours. And then we would have no budget debate. Or if we do have a budget debate, it would only be the opposition side talking, because the minister would have said everything there is to be said by his colleagues. So he would just give a general outline, speak about, and there are persons who find he talked too much about what they did. But as I said, one of the shortcomings of the government, perhaps the largest shortcoming, is the fact that their PR is weak. So the minister gets an opportunity to speak, because we don't hear from Coleman but often. So when he gets an opportunity to speak, he will utilize it, right? I think yesterday was perhaps one of the longest budget speeches there is, because we were supposed to start at I-95 at 5 o'clock and end at 7. And we didn't start until 6:25. And you would have noticed that at the start, I wasn't really saying much, because Mariano Brown he said that he was supposed to leave at 6:45 because he was supposed to be in another place and sitting on some other panel. I don't know which television station he was going to. So he was only supposed to be there for about 20 minutes because, like myself, he was told to come for 5 o'clock. And David Abdullah. So Adine said, well, okay, well, we will allow Mariano to speak, to make his contribution, and then, we will continue the conversation after, which is why he was doing a bit of talking. But, David Abdullah had to get in a word edgewise because, like, he didn't get the memo that we would allow Mariano to say his piece, right? But I know that is what Adine said. So that is why I remained quiet while the two of them kept going at it. Because, so Mariano ended up staying a little longer than he had said because Abdullah felt that he needed to put in his 2 pence every time Mariano said something. And so that's why Adine and I were just quiet and we were allowing the two of them. But really, Mariano was the one who was supposed to speak and give his critique and then bust out. But anyway, so I was listening before I came on to this program on Synergy, Morning Dawn, and the host. So I see he have about 400 and something people viewing him. And again, you're complaining about the minister didn't say this and the minister didn't say that, and you see 8 billion allocated to education, but you didn't hear him talk about the migrant children and how they're going to treat with the migrant children with respect to schooling and so on. That is not for the minister to talk about. You have a minister of education who would be allotted 45 minutes to speak. 45 minutes, and I believe they may have an extension of 10 or 15 minutes or so to speak. If it is the minister says everything that she has to say, what is she going to come and talk about? The budget speech is really the skeletal framework. It is for the individual ministers during the debate to put flesh to this framework. That is the purpose of the debate, for them to come and expound on what it is their ministry is going to do, because it is the individual ministries and the ministers who would have formulated policy with the technocrats and so on in the ministry, and then they would have forwarded their budget estimates to the Ministry of Finance for approval and funding. So the ministers would have a better idea as to how they intend to spend the money based on what the proposals that they sent and the estimates that they sent to the ministry. For persons who may not be aware of as to how the thing works, even the state enterprises, and I can speak from the position of the National Trust, we know the things that we wish to do in the coming year with respect to the establishment of a heritage site on Nelson Island. We want to establish the heritage site on at Banwari Trees, where I think it's the 5,000-year-old skeleton that was found some years ago, and it's now housing Nui and so on. So we're setting up facilities there. We want to put up because we want to make a contribution to tourism as well, right? And there are other projects that we're working on. So when it is that you send your draft estimates, your budget proposal to the ministry, you would then have a team of persons from the Ministry of Finance, a team of persons from our line ministry, which is planning, the PS, and so on. And then they would call the board of the trust, the council, to come to defend their budget. So they will go through item by item. Well, we see you all ask for this here. Defend that. Why should we give you all this money for this? How important is this? And then they go through, so you sit down and they're just going through and asking you. And you have to defend this because you sent this to us saying you want this amount of money to do this. Why is this costing so much? Did you all get caught? Whatever. And that's how it goes. And then if it is you successfully defend what you would have requested, they give it to you. But if the ministry is not satisfied with what you have presented and you didn't do a good job at defending, you won't get it. So sometimes we ask for the amount of money we ask for, we get half. And we have to make do with that. So we have to engage in for different fundraising. I don't even want to say fundraising, but we raise our own money through our tours, lectures, through membership dues and all of these different things. And these monies also go into facilitating all of the different projects that we have. So when it is that we call on persons to participate and to support and to patronize our tours, this is where the money goes. for these things, because we understand and the ministry will explain to us, yes, but remember, we have X amount of ministries, everybody who want money for different things, and we are operating with a limited pie. So the minister, hardly anybody gets all that they ask for. But again, if you can successfully justify most of what you're asking for, you may very well get it. So the purpose of the debate is to have the individual ministers now come and see what it is they plan to do with their ministry and the money is allocated to them. But it is only when they are told how much money they get and they realize, well, okay, these are the projects that we can fund based on the money that we've been allocated, and that is what we will speak to. So, of course, we expect to hear from the opposition to challenge the government to talk about. They said they announced last year and they announced the year before this project, that project, and the other project, and it has not been implemented. And when I got home, I was able to see a bit of Mrs. Nunes Teixeira on TV6. And for the entire exchange between Mrs. Teixeira, Brian Manning, Faris Al-Rawi, and Fazir Mohammed, I had to ask myself, what it is Karen and Fazir on? Like the two of them sniff the same thing? But it seemed to me like they with respect to Karen Teixeira, or Karen Nuisance Teixeira, because last night she was a significant nuisance. I was wondering if it had a petty wagon from the madhouse waiting outside for her at the end of the interview, because this woman was behaving like a real crackhead. She there and she laughing and was it a joke? And then she's really all this sort of antics and whatnot. What really going on with you? You were a former minister of finance under the PNM, right? You know the vagaries of budgeting, the challenges with respect to funding, income, revenue versus expenditure. So you understand. It is nothing new. And to give the impression as if it's only under this administration, where projects would have been announced in the budget and then, but it didn't pan out in this particular fiscal for a number of reasons. Things happen. The government could announce, okay, we're going to engage in a particular project, but let's look at, for instance, what's happening with the Office of the Procurement Regulator, where they're still having challenges, teething problems with respect to registering contractors. So if there are insufficient contractors, and we know the law says in order to engage these contractors, they must be registered, pre-qualified on the OPR registry. So if the government articulates in the budget that we want to do a particular project, and unfortunately, because of these teething problems, we do not have sufficient contractors registered to be able to carry out this project in this fiscal, what do you expect them to do? What do you expect them to do? Still go through with it? How? When we don't have, if it is we don't have enough architects or we don't have enough whatever contractors we need, because these persons are yet to be registered. Things happen. Sometimes the government, remember, these projects are based on revenue projections. And if in a particular quarter, the amount of revenue that you're expecting to get, you didn't get, then you have to keep delaying it until I'm hoping that, okay, maybe the second quarter we will be better. Our revenue receipts might be a little better and we could start the project then. But if it is you find you go through the entire year and by the time the third quarter come around, you're only now realizing the revenue that you needed to start this project, is almost at the end of the fiscal. So you have to bring it back in a subsequent budget. But like, you would swear that Karen Teixeira was not a minister of finance and that she don't understand these things. The banker that this woman have, it is so great. She came there last night with an agenda. She said, it was clear she came there with the intent to attack whoever the PNM sent. And she kept going on, and this government, and you can't trust this government, and this government this, and this government that, and this government. If she was still a PNM member, I personally would have write to the Prime Minister and ask them to expel her from the PNM. Her conduct last night was unbecoming of a former minister of finance. And I don't know if it was maybe the big money that she win, something going to her head, but she was last night, that performance I saw from Karen Teixeira, she was behaving like a real crackhead. I don't know what, you just there laughing and giggling while Faris is talking. And of course, he's trying to speak over this nuisance They're laughing and it's like, what going on with you? You need some water? Something? You didn't take your pills before you came on the people station? How the mighty had fallen. So because you're the deputy political leader of Hope, that new party, you feel you need to conduct yourself in that way? They couldn't send anybody else, they sent you. They sent you to come and embarrass yourself like that. You got no points last night, Karen Tishara. Maybe from the, the other side, the naysayers and them who are the anti-PNM crowd, probably applauding you for that. They say, look how PNM bashing PNM. She is no longer PNM. She resigned from the party, right? She turned in her party card, and she is now the deputy political leader of Hope. Bless. She's no longer PNM. So that was no PNM attacking PNM. One wonders if she was ever truly PNM. This hatred, this seeming hatred that she has for Dr. Rowley and his government. Poor Kevin Ramnarine sit down in the corner there. You know how much he could say. Because she kept going at it and Fazil. It's better they, I guess, they couldn't get nobody else other than Fazil to come and moderate that. Fazil was just on the attack whole time. That was one of the most unprofessional interviews I have ever. Well, it wasn't an interview, but moderating I have ever come across. You invite people to come and speak on the budget, and they are articulating their views and their position. But if it is that they are telling you, and Paris is telling you, look, crime is an issue. We acknowledge that. We accept that crime is a problem. Crime is heading in the wrong direction, right? And we are all citizens of Trinidad. Paris is a citizen. Dr. Rowley is a citizen. Brian Manning is a citizen. Coleman Butch is a citizen. They all live in Trinidad. They're not living in the sky and totally oblivious to what is happening with respect to crime. And this perception that they have, well, they have security and they this and they that. No, Faris Al-Rawi's in-laws were held up. Let us not forget that. They were held up outside their home after they left the bank. And so they were victims. So crime has come home to his doorstep. But when you listen to some of these commentators and these pontificators, and you read some of the comments on social media, you would swear that members of the government are totally far and apart from the rest of the country. So that when they go to the grocery, they don't pay the same prices that we pay, that the rest of the country pays for everything. When they go to the gas station, they don't pay. So Coleman Butch increase the price of fuel, but when he goes to the gas station, apparently he pays a different price from everybody else. So the members of government, they don't have families, they don't have friends who are not parliamentarians and who do not get perks and who do not get benefits. And therefore, I'm sure Dr. Rowley have siblings, he has nieces and nephews and close friends who are not wealthy, so that when they go to the grocery, they're facing the same struggles as well. But this impression I give, well, yeah, them making money and they getting paid and they earning a salary and this and they getting all of these perks and whatnot. Yeah, they getting that. But what about their circle, their families and friends and so on, who are not rich? When they go to the gas station, they can't say, yeah, Rowley is my uncle, or Mbut is my brother, or Faris is my cousin. And when they say this, what's going to happen? They're going to get discounts? Or they say, all right, well, you will pay the government price because this one is your family. It don't work so. As if, but to create this impression that they are so far removed from what is happening in the country. Ridiculous. But there's a saying, good economics equates to bad politics. Meaning that when you take the hard decisions, unfortunately, you have to prepare yourself for the possibility that you may be voted out of office. Why? Because the average citizen doesn't understand how the system works. And because of that, they find themselves in a situation where they're totally oblivious. Right? Because the government wicked and they don't care about poor people. And when and Khadija Amin last night, again, you come there with your agenda. Same thing talking about, when the people go to the grocery and they can't afford to pay this. And I heard somebody saying, I think it was Fazira and they were last night was saying, aren't you concerned about when citizens go to the grocery and they can't pick up items without being concerned about the price or looking at the price tag. When was that? 2010 to 2015, people used to just go to the grocery and pick up things and put it in their trolley or their basket and not look at the price. Really? That happened? I must have missed that memo. I wasn't aware that that was happening. But they will continue to push that narrative. But ask them, what can the government do to bring down the price of food or bring down the price of items in the grocery? What the government could do? Dr. Olido and the PNM don't have a grocery. They don't have a chain of supermarkets. They are not importing anything. They're not making anything. It is the importers and the wholesalers and the retailers and the markup and whatever it is. They are the ones who are doing these things. And they will come and tell you, this is why we have to charge this, and this is why we have to charge that. We are not a communist state. We are not a socialist state. If we were a communist or socialist state like Cuba, where the government could dictate the pace, but you have to understand you need to surrender certain freedoms and liberties. Because the government will tell you, you could only own one house. Even if you could afford 3, 4, and 5, the government say you could only own one, right? Because we want to level the playing field. Trinidad and Tobago operates under the free market system. The state cannot intervene to tell business people, well, you could only charge this for this, and you could only charge that for that, and this is I'll be putting a cap on how much profits you could make. Because then the businessman will say, well, that ain't making sense. I went into business to make profits, but if you want to put a cap on how much profit I can make, well, then to hell with you. I close down the business. Because you don't know what my expenses are, and you don't care, but you want to come and tell me for the interest of the benefit of the wider citizenry, because you trying to play politics, that you want to tell me how much I should charge. To hell with that. I shut down my business. It ain't making sense. That's what would happen. So the impression that some people given that the government could intervene and put limits and set price limits on the different businesses pay different prices. If it is you need US to bring in stuff, and you don't have a good relationship with the bank, or you just open your business, right? And you haven't established that relationship, the bank is not going to give you preference over their long-standing customer who have millions of dollars in the bank, who has been doing business with them for years, who they have a relationship with, who might have a series of different investments with them. And therefore, these are the people that they would give preference to. As somebody who used to work in the bank, I know firsthand. I worked in the bank for almost 7 years, so I know what happens. Preferential customers, our long-standing customers, we put them to the top of the list. And others, you put them in the queue. They need X amount of US or whatever. If it takes a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks for them to get it, so be it. But you see these customers here, these loyal ones here, the ones who have all the big money in the bank, these are the people we're giving preference to. That is simply how it works. So that when the central bank releases foreign exchange from the reserves, and it goes to the commercial banks, Alvin Hille can pick up the phone and call Nigel Batiste and Republic Bank and say, hey, this is how you need to disburse this US. He doesn't know the needs of the bank. He can't pick up the phone and call Karen Dabasi and FCB and say, hey, give the US to this person and give it to that person. He cannot do that, right? He cannot do that. He cannot pick up the phone and call Gail Pazos and Scotiabank and tell her, this is what you must do with the US that we just give earlier and so on. Can't dictate that pace. It is left to the banks to decide who they give it to. And as I made the point to you all the other day, the banks also keep a portion of the US for themselves. The banks themselves have need for the US dollars. They have US dollar denominated investments that they offer you, the members of the public. And when you take advantage of that, if you don't come with US dollars and you come with TT dollars and they have to convert it, then they need US to be able to invest overseas so that they can give you a proper return on your investment in these investment vehicles. So it's not just simply the money come to the bank and the bank give it out to whoever comes. The bank themselves are holding back a portion for their own needs. They have needs as well. But we are not having that conversation, unfortunately. And so this is where we are. So there were a lot of people who listened to the budget yesterday just to hear, did the price of fuel increase? They increase pension? They increase the food card? Anything, they give out any grants with respect to book grant and so on. There are basic things that certain people want to hear. And so last night when this is the thing that troubles me with these men and women of letters, right? Who the media always runs to for comment. So I'm there last night and I'm listening to Mariano and I'm listening to David Abdullah and I'm saying to myself, um, are you all cognizant of the people who are listening to you? Because um, we raised an issue with respect to the NIS when I had brought up the NIS issue and so on. And Mariano, myself, and David Abdullah at the same time was seeking to explain um, something called defined contribution plans and defined benefit plans. And we all said it at the same time. And Dean, who didn't know what we were talking about, was like, well, you guys, you'll need to explain this to me or whatever it is, right? So if you're not into finance, you're not into economics and the like, there are certain terminologies that the average citizen may not understand because they didn't study finance and whatever. So we may take it for granted that we know what we understand these things because we talk that jargon. That is, we talk that language every day based on our professional backgrounds. But you need to be mindful of the people who are listening. So when the two are having a conversation or they're talking about the retail price index and transfer pricing, all these different things, the two all understand, right? Myself and Adin might understand, and there may be some listeners who understand, but there are also those who don't. And so you need to keep the conversation at a level, the basic, explain this because there are persons out there who depend on these panel discussions to have a better understanding of what was in the budget. And they don't need you to come and talk about all of these different high stuff and getting deep into economic terms and financial terms and so on, because you turn people off if they don't understand what it is that you're talking about. So when you're using acronyms like RPI and so on, the average citizen is supposed to know what RPI means. And that's my thing. So I'm just allowing the two of them to go ahead and talk the thing, and I say to myself, okay, right, so you understand, I understand, but does everybody else understand what it is they're talking about it? The same average citizen that all of this at a high science is not necessary. Break it down in simple terms to the people so they can understand. So I raised the issue with respect to the minimum wage, which the minister raised yesterday by $3. And I raised the issue that when the minimum wage was first established in 1998 under the Pandey administration, and it was established at $7. Subsequent to that, there were about 3 increases which took place under the Manning regime. It went from 7 to 8, then from 8 to 9, and then from 9 to $12.50. And the People's Partnership came in, and in 2015, January of 2015, I suppose looking for something to, looking for some kind of something, election goodies now. They increased it from $12.50 to $15, and then they were voted out of office. The Rowley administration came in. They increased it from $15 to $17.50, and now from $17.50 to $20.50. So out of the total $20.50 minimum wage, the PNM was responsible for $11 and the UNC for $9.50. And I was raising that point that now, based on this, at the PNM, the majority of the minimum wage is to be attributed to the PNM and not the UNC. But they try to pour cold water on that to say, yeah, but what was the average RPI over the last 5 years and so on? The average citizen cares. What was the average RPI, retail price index? What was the average change in the RPI? Mariano? Really? They don't. They don't. What was the average change in the RPI in 1970, Mariano? Or David? What was the average the change in the RPI from 1980 to 1985? Do we still have the same prices from then? Why are we not lamenting the fact that the price of gas today in 2023 is not what it was in 1960? Why are we not calling for the prices to go back to 1960? Why are we not talking about what was the cost of a tin of condensed milk in 1952 as opposed to 2023? And why are we not blaming the PNM for that? Yeah? Why are we not blaming the PNM for that? Because it's the natural evolution of things. Whereas we had 1914 and 1915 and 1920, you could have get how much acres of land for a 3 and 4 bedroom house for $4,000 and $5,000. You can't get that today. Why is that? Explain that to the people now. Why are we not calling for housing prices to go back to what it was in 1915 or in 1923, 100 years ago? Why are the prices not the same as they were then? But we want to have to bring back the old Land and Building Taxes Act that has the property tax rate from 1912. 1912? Yes, I believe so. 1912, where it says the property tax rate was 24 cents. If your property was $25 or less in value, the annual rental value is $25 or less, you pay 24 cents. It's $25 or it's a little less than that. You pay 24 cents. But if it's more than that, then you pay 7% of the annual rental value. 7% in 1912. But based on what property prices were, now we would look at it and say, well, okay, property prices back then was, if the annual rental value was $30, $40, or property prices back then was $2,000 and $3,000 and this kind of a small money, we would look at it as small money for property based on what it is today. But we are 100 and some odd years later. But the UNC is telling you, bring back the old Land and Building taxes. Well, bring it back. Bring it back, right? In the exact same construct that it was from 1912, where it says that if your property, the annual rental value of your property is above, I'll check and see if it was, I can't remember what it was exactly, but it was a very small sum. I can't remember if it was $12 or $25 or something so. That once the value of your property is more than that, you pay 7% based on the annual rental value. The PNM now is telling you, you're paying 3%. So whatever is the annual rental value, and the minister gave an example yesterday. He said if it is that the annual rental value of your home is $24,000, $2,000 a month, you minus 10% from that, right? For certain monies that you might have spent to upgrade the house or whatever it is, minus 10%, and the difference, you find 3% of that. 3%. But the UNC is telling you, bring back the old Land and Building taxes. The old Land and Building Tax Act, bring that back. Not what the PNM proposing. But I say bring it back. But bring it back only for supporters of the UNC. If you had to bring property tax, the PNM people and the rest of us who don't support the UNC and who not calling for the old Land and Building tax, we will take what it is that the government is saying, 3%. But for the supporters of the UNC who want them to bring back the old Land and Building tax, only take that. Say specifically, we bring it back for them. And let them pay 7% on the new tax rule. 7%. So we will pay the 3 and only pay 7. Because that making sense. But you see, that is what happens when they want to come and promote things that they know absolutely nothing about. Ask the average, all of them who was outside the parliament yesterday knocking pot and pan, talking about Rowley must go and Hines must go, and we want Kamala and we want Kamala. Ask them, what is in the Land and Building Tax Act? They can't tell you. Ask them where you could find it. They can't tell you. They could tell you nothing about it. But yes, we want back the old Land and Building tax. We want that back. Right. Okay. Well, let's take it. No clue. No clue, you know. That was like the waterfront ilk come up to Abercrombie Street. So now we had to call them the Abercrombie Street ilk. I bet if you had asked any, you know what is happening in the parliament today? Everything good. Actually, now, me, you know. Yeah, the budget is being read. You know what the budget is? Well, right. All they continue to do is to bring the supporters to embarrass themselves. Let me give you an example. Right? Let me play this. From Beavis and Butthead. Dumb and Dumber. Yeah? On that station, that radio station, that going to the dogs, scraping the bottom, not even the bottom of the barrel, even the dregs better than what it is they have there now on an evening. These two people who come in to tell you, we come to educate and inform. And every time I hear that, as I always say, you cannot educate and inform anybody until you educate and inform your damn self. You know nothing, right? So you're going on social media yesterday, and of course, we know typical. They were expecting an increase in the price of fuel. That didn't happen. So they had to create their own increase. So they went and they pull a page. From last year's budget where the minister announced the increase in the price of fuel. They took out information from that and create a document. Look at the extent to which they went in the space of a few hours, right? They create a document, supposedly, outlining the measures in this year's budget. So they put a few truths, few of the things that the minister actually said. And then inside that now, they throw in the lie, the price of fuel increased by, super increased by this, premium increased by that, diesel increased by that. So somebody reading that now will say, well, yeah, but I was listening to the budget and I really hear him would say this. So they may not have listened to the full thing. And then they come down to the bottom and they say the price of fuel increase, and already they start a cost. Because they believe this is what Imbut was saying. Because I listened earlier on and I really heard him say this, this, and this, the first three things. But I didn't continue to listen, so I didn't hear when he said the other stuff. So one of my friends, and I'm loath now to call him my friend. While I'm at the studio, you're sending me this nonsense on WhatsApp. But the government's so wicked and really don't care about poor people. And input this and input that and whatnot. I said, what did they do now? They increased the price of, yes, they increased the price of gas again. I said, when did that happen? I said, because clearly you and I didn't listen to the same budget speech, because I didn't hear any increase in the price of fuel. So when did Mr. Imbut say that? You send me a screenshot now of this nonsensical thing. And then on top of that, you send me a PDF of last year's budget speech. And I watch it. And I had to say to him, are you an idiot? This is last year's budget speech. It clearly says 2023. You send me a voice note to say, you're mad or what? That's this year's budget, boy. I have to know, fortunately, during the course of the budget, I don't know if it's Helicon or whoever, the PNM, they were sending out certain snapshots of certain things that the measures that the minister had mentioned. And the first clip that they sent out, the first slide that they sent out had the title of this year's budget. So the document that this individual sends to me, last year's budget, has the title. So I sent him the screenshot of the slide, and I said, please see the title of this year's budget. Please read the title of the budget of the document you just sent me. Is that the same thing? Is that the same thing? Oh shucks. So that was so it's 2020. If I used to curse, right? If I used to curse, the words I would have tell him, constantly sending me trash, and I have to keep telling him, stop sending me UNC propaganda BS. Stop it. Do your research before you send me these things. Because every time you send me, I have to keep debunking it. But you keep buying into this folly and then telling me, but I don't support the UNC. You don't support the UNC, but you keep sending them nonsense. You wouldn't do any fact checking. So I'm supposed to be a fact checker now? Everybody think that you send me, I have to debunk it, and you say, you're good, you know. You're real good, boy. Yeah. I'm not looking for no kudos from you. Because you're sending me foolishness. Common sense. Just read the bloody thing. You didn't take the time to listen to Mr. Imbut. Right? But you're running with the propaganda that the UNC put out. Because they're looking for mileage. They vex because the price of fuel didn't increase, and whatever else they were hoping that they could have used to say the government wicked and they don't care about poor people and they're only oppressing the poor, as if the government is only supposed to govern for the poor. So nobody else in Trinidad and Tobago. There's only, every time the budget is read, every time a minister goes to work every day, we only working to benefit the poor. The rest of people in society, we don't care about them. Let them fend for themselves. So nothing for everybody else. Only everything. And then Khadija come last night with the same talk. When people go to the grocery and some guy who work in Wassa, he's a permanent daily employed and he's homeless. He living in a pavilion and all that. And people calling her all the time and telling her about how they're struggling and all that. Yeah, I know that there are people in Trinidad and Tobago who are struggling. But when Carnival come around, and you have stink and dirty, ram out, tickets sell out. None of these people are suffering. Right? Some of the same people probably calling her to complain they're suffering. Every installment has stink and dirty. They were there. Yeah? All these bands were already starting to send out costumes, pictures of the costumes and so on. Yeah, man, we there. Melee, we there. When Fed, as soon as Boxing Day hit, what Fed we going by? Cooler Fed we inside. Only premium drinks in the cooler, but you're suffering. And? But you're suffering. They're not talk about that, you know. No. They're nothing to say about that. I know there are people struggling in this country, but there are opportunities opportunities for them to come out of that. That's why the Prime Minister said there's nothing wrong with the rich getting richer, but the poor must come out of poverty. But we must accept and admit that there are poor people who want to remain in poverty because there are opportunities. And I always reference my own personal space. Right, is I have a family member who works for CPEP, right? You work in CPEP. You're 42 years old. Work in CPEP. You're getting a food card every month, and you have normalized poverty. So you have now arranged your life around your CPEP salary, your food card, and whatever little money that your 19-year-old son gives to you. Your 19-year-old son, who unfortunately fell out of the system because of COVID, and his mother was unable to purchase a device for him. And as a result of that, he fell behind, but he was doing well up until that point. Fell behind. So now he's working in a factory, saving his money. He could teach her a thing or two about how to manage money. Because in the 6 or 7 months, 8 months or so that he's been working in this factory, saving his money, he's been able to purchase a twin tub washer because he says to his mother, "Mommy, let me put up and buy the thing." Yeah. You will put half and I will put half. Okay. He saved up his half in about 3 weeks, waiting for her to put her half, but her half not growing. So she have $600 put down, and every time, "Mommy, how much I have?" 600. 600. He get fed up because like that 600 ain't moving. And if I continue to wait on you, because we need the twin tub washer, if I continue to wait on you, it would never purchase. You know what? You call me and you say, "Hey, what? You can come by Courts. I want to buy a twin tub washer." I took him to Courts, right? We went, we look around, he saw what he liked, he pulled out his bank card and he paid for it cash. No higher purchase, 19 years old, paid for it cash. Come home. She can't do that. She can't do that. 42 years old. So he's telling you, the factory where he is working, they have vacancies. If it is that he is able to do this, to save his money in this manner, right? He just buy a little old car, get his license a couple months ago. I know young people are excited to he want to drive. I tell him, I say, "Hey, well, take your time. Take your time. You don't need to go and buy the car now. Save your money. And when you make permanent in about a year or so," let me just plug this thing in there.